Hi everyone, Jon Friedberg here with another episode of Stacking Chips, your strategy source for the 2007 World Series of Poker, Bellagio Cup, and the dozens of other events going on here in lovely Las Vegas. So I'm pretty pleased with my finish yesterday. I ended up finishing in third place, taking home just over $100,000 in the 1500 pot limit hold'em event. Gavin Smith finished in second, and an internet player, believe it or not, an internet player beat Gavin, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but Mike Spagel, that was his name. I just remembered it. No help from the camera crew here. So congratulations to Gavin. Eric Lynch, who was my guest yesterday, got really unlucky when he went all in with an ace-king against Gavin's ace-7. Of course, the flop comes ace-7x, and 7 on the turn to pretty much seal the deal for Gavin, sending home Eric in 7th place. So it was a tough finish for Eric. I'm going to talk a lot more about this final table, about my experience there, about some of the hands I played, and how I came in as 7th in chips, ultimately finishing in 3rd place. But we're going to get to that tomorrow, I think, because today I got a really important guest here. I have Gavin Griffin, who just took down the Monte Carlo Millions for about $2.5 million, the EPT Championship. Gavin, it's good to have you here, man. Congratulations. You just came off a huge finish in Europe at the Monte Carlo Millions for what, $2.5 million?
Yeah, it was about 1.8 million euros, so it's 2.4 US.
Awesome, congrats on that, man. What a rush.
Yeah, it was my first trip to Europe, which is actually kind of similar to when I won my bracelet in 2004. It was my first time in Vegas, and it was like the second World Series event I ever played. So I've got that little parallel going on, and you know, the trip was awesome. I did a little bit of sightseeing, saw some like small towns in Italy and France, and then, you know, obviously the tournament was great. You know, the venue was incredible. The room we played in was easily the prettiest room I've ever played in a poker tournament. You know, they had this ceiling with just like thousands of little pinpoint lights. It looked like the starry sky, and then they had these probably 50-foot windows along the whole room looking out over the Monte Carlo Bay. And it was just awesome.
Awesome, man. That sounds really cool. So I read something about you and your new hairdo, which is related to a charity.
Right.
Do you care to explain that a little bit to us?
Yeah, I dyed my hair pink in, I think the first time I did was in March. I'm going to be doing a charity walk for the Avon Breast Cancer Foundation in September. And I just kind of decided to dye my hair pink as kind of like a fundraising effort, you know. Someone comes up and says, well, why is your hair pink? I said, well, I'm doing this walk, you know, anybody wants to donate, you know, that's cool. And the reason I'm doing the walk is my girlfriend, Kristen, when she was 20, she's 23 now, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she fought through it, she did a really good job, and, you know, she's doing great now, but it's nice to be able to, you know, give something back to that cause, and especially with the Avon Foundation, which is, they do like so much stuff. You know, they do research, they fund research, they do awareness programs, and they're really community based. So, you know, it's nice to be able to give something to the LA chapter of the Avon Foundation.
That's awesome, man. That's a very admirable thing, and you know what? I personally would like to contribute, so keep me posted on that for sure. So let's talk poker a little bit.
All right.
So you just came off, you know, like I said, a $2.5 million win at the EPT Championship in Monte Carlo. What was it like? I mean, were there any key hands that you want to talk about, like real, you know, hands that you played strategically very well at any point in the tournament that led towards you winning this event?
Well, I don't know if I necessarily played this hand all that great, but it was a pretty key hand, and it brought up some really interesting decisions. I had, if I remember correctly, about 170,000 in chips, maybe like 140 to 170, somewhere in that range, and the blinds were 1,500 and 3,000, or 2,000, 4,000. I'm not sure which. It must have been 2,000, 4,000, because I made it 11,000 to go from middle position with Queen 10 of clubs. It gets folded around to the big blind, who calls, and he has me covered by maybe 15,000 chips.
Were you one of the bigger stacks at this time?
No, I was I think either right at average or a little bit below average. To my right was Johnny Lawden with like 350,000, and then 3 to my left was Andy Black with all the chips in the tournament. He had like 700,000 at that point or something. So the big blind calls the 11,000. So there's about 25,000 in the pot, and the flop comes ace, deuce, 5 with 2 clubs, and the ace of clubs was out there. So the big blind checks, and I bet like 18,000 or something like that. I've got a flush draw. An ace is generally a good flop for the pre-flop raiser, especially if it's one of the blinds just calling, because they're probably not going to have ace king or ace queen. So he like almost immediately calls. So at this point, I think he has either maybe like ace jack or ace 10, something kind of like a weak ace, maybe ace 9 suited or something like that. The turn looks like actually a pretty good card for me. It's 3, because if he checks and I bet this card, I'm looking pretty strong. It's ace deuce 3-5 out there with a flush draw. So if he has ace jack, ace 10, he's probably going to fold.
So are you saying that because you're not going to fire a second shot here? Or he doesn't think you double barrel this?
Right, yeah.
Without something?
I would imagine, he seemed like a pretty solid player. I don't think he thinks that I'm gonna bet again without at least ace queen or ace king.
Gotcha.
He probably thinks I'd check behind with kings or queens or jacks or something like that. So he checks to me, and I have about 90,000 left. And there's like 60,000 in the pot. So I didn't want to bet all in, just because I thought that would look weak. And obviously anything I bet, I'm probably calling an all-in if he check raises anyways. So I bet like 65,000. I bet pretty much the pot. Obviously committing myself, and he pretty much auto shoved on me. And I call.
That's such a bad feeling. By the way.
Right. I'm like, he could just at least give me a little bit of a sweat on it. Think for 15 seconds, right? And he shows pocket fours for a wheel.
Oh.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
For a set?
Yeah, pocket fours was what I said. He had pocket threes for the wheels. Ace, deuce, 4, 5. So yeah, he had pocket threes. And there was the 4 clubs and bailing me out. And then from there on in, I just kind of played a lot of small pots. That got me to like 300,000. And by the end of the day, that was day 3. So by the end of the day, I had like 600,000 or 700,000. One of the chip leaders. And like I said, from there on in, I never really played huge confrontations until the final table.
And did you have the lead throughout the final table? Was it pretty much your event from that point on?
Actually, I went through a little rough patch with like 4 players left. I was getting re-raised constantly. And actually, Soren Kongsgaard, who ended up finishing 3rd, took a pretty bad beat against me because I raised like 4 pots in a row, and I get re-raised every time, right? And if I have ace jack suited, I'd call the re-raise and check fold the flop or whatever. Or even with like 8-9 suited, I was seeing the flops, but I was missing. So I get my first card, and then the dealer comes around with the second card and flips it over. It was the 3 of hearts, and it goes back around. I get the top card off the deck, and I pick up 2 queens. So we're 4-handed, so I raise again, kind of like frustratedly, and it gets to the big blind, who's Soren. He re-raises me again, and I move in. Again, kind of just like, screw you guys. You're re-raising me every hand. I'm just moving in. And turns out I didn't have to really do that because Soren had jacks. So he took a pretty bad beat, not only because he picks up jacks when I have queens 4-handed, but I wasn't really supposed to get the queens. The dealer flips the card over. And he was really cool about it. I don't even think he noticed that the dealer flipped the card over. So if you're watching this, I'm sorry.
That is a pretty bad beat. Yeah. And then to get cooler there,
right? Like, yeah, we're 4-handed. It's not like I'm a rock or anything. He's not expecting to. He's got the best hand like 95% of the time, right? So it's a pretty bad spot for him.
Yeah. Well, congrats anyway. You gotta have some fortunate things happen to one of these things. I'm sure you know. So, what's your schedule like for the World Series this year? Have you played any events yet?
I played last Friday in the mixed hold'em event, and then I'm still in the 1K rebuy event.
Okay.
There's 81 people left. I've got 154,000 in chips.
Cool. That sounds like it's probably
pretty good. Yeah. I think there's maybe like 3 or 4 people ahead of me. But my table's okay. It's not really the best table, but the field right now is just ridiculous.
Is it?
Like, Sorel Mizzi is the chip leader. What a surprise.
By the way, that's Sorel Mizzi is Imperium.
Yeah,
the first episode of this show.
Yeah, whatever.
The first episode of this show, I picked Imperium to be one of the guys who's gonna, just one of the young online guys who's gonna destroy the World Series.
He's an absolute stud. That guy he's always got a ton of chips, always there at the end. Jonathan Little was really deep in it too, and obviously he's at every final table like for the last 3 months. So. I mean the field. Strauss is still in. Sheets. A lot of tough online players. Mr. Smokey's still in. So I'm not really excited about the total field. Steve Paul Ambrose. I mean, just everywhere you look, there's just a bunch of and it's young.
It's got to be a real deep stack too, right? Being a rebuy tournament.
Yeah, the blinds are 1 in 2,000, and the average stack I think is like 55 or 60,000. So, and there's probably 20 guys who have over 100,000 or something like that. So,
are you guys in the money yet?
Yeah, we stopped when we made the money last night, at like 5 minutes to 2. So we're in the money. I think it's like 580,000 for first or something. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I think I'm still
stuck. I'm still stuck right now. I was in for 7,000, and we're getting like 5,000. So.
That was my next question.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I expected like 6,000 or so. So 7,000.
Were there any stories of someone like Negreanu being in for 30,000?
I don't think so. Actually, I saw Daniel on one of the break, come back from dinner break, and we asked him how much he was in for. He said 4,000. So yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing. I didn't believe him at first, but. I think the most was someone said they went for like 19 or 20,000.
Okay.
Which I guess really isn't too bad considering the last few years. Daniel, his much publicized 27 rebuys or whatever.
That was funny. Then he finished 3rd place for 100,000.
He had to finish. He had to finish like 7th in order to get his money back.
Right.
He finishes 3rd.
And still profit 75,000
right.
on the event. It's ridiculous. So what about the rest of the World Series for you? You're going to be here the whole time and playing a bunch of events?
Yeah, I'm kind of traveling back and forth between here and LA or Orange County. Just, kind of picking and choosing which events I'm going to play in. There's like a couple stretches of like 4 or 5 days where I'm not really all that interested in playing the events that are going on. So I'm just going to go home, relax, see my pets and my girlfriend. And
so you're obviously not one of the ego players that just wants to win a bracelet in 700 events.
Not really. No. I mean, if I win bracelets, that's cool. But it's not really about winning bracelets. It's about winning tournaments and making money. So, I don't have to finish my career with 35 bracelets to feel like I'm a great poker player or even a good poker player. So,
well, you're what 23?
25 now. I'm getting old.
You're getting old. When I mentioned you were 22 back in 04.
Yeah, I actually feel old, though. Everybody's 21. Mr. Smokey, obviously, 21 in like 12 days or whatever. So
yeah, well, I'm 32, so I feel like a grandfather. But, you're 25. You've accomplished more in your poker career than 99.9% of poker players, will ever accomplish. So that's amazing, man. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate having you here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone, that's it for today's episode of Stacking Chips. Make sure to tune in tomorrow and every day throughout the World Series for all kinds of strategy talk, interviews, updates, analysis, and more right here on Card Player TV. And don't forget to email me your questions to stackingchips@cardplayer.com. From Jon Poker Chip Friedberg
and Gavin Griffin
here on Stacking Chips, we're out of here. Good luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.